After a Jewish man is murdered, the agents are called in, not to investigate his death, but the deaths of the young men related to the crime.
They find themselves intertwined in a story of lost love and supernatural revenge.
This is not happening.
Why'd you kill him, Jacob?
The synagogue has been vandalized 13 times in the last year. I heard a noise in the attic. I went up to see what it was, and he attacked me. It was self-defense.
Hanging a man in self-defense.
Is it any worse than what they did to Isaac?
Is it any better? They found your book, your Sefer Yetzirah, on Isaac Luria's grave. So that puts you at a second crime scene.
I'm guilty. What more do you want from me?
The truth.
I have given you the truth.
There was someone else in that attic with you. Who was it?
There was no one else.
Then you're a liar.
And you know nothing about nothing, and I have no more to say about this.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You are listening to This Is Not Happening, another X-Files podcast with me, Andrew, and as always, with my good friend, Mike.
Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom. Your long-standing Jewish heritage is now revealed.
Indeed, sir.
Yes. So this episode that we're going to cover tonight really resonated with you, did it?
It did. It did.
It spoke to you.
Just brought back memories of stomping on glasses at my wedding and doing the chair dance.
Yeah. I can just see it in my head right now.
You were there?
I was there. I mean, I didn't know you at the time, but I crashed the wedding because
that's true.
It's a good meal.
That's true.
If you haven't caught up by the obvious giveaway from the podcast app of your choice, we are going to be covering Kaddish tonight, episode 15 of season 4, written by Howard Gordon, directed by Kim Manners, and this one premiered February 1997.
Yeah.
A big
Starting
deal.
the year off dark.
It's a dark one, yeah.
Yeah. Dare I say, Andrew, I know you and I give Howard Gordon a hard time.
We give him a bit of a razz, yeah.
I think he kept it well within the 1 to 10 range in this episode.
I you know what? Will have something to say about that at the end, and I agree. I think that this is a more restrained Howard Gordon than we had seen in the past. There's not a lot that he is rushing through with the hope that you will miss it in this episode.
Right.
The name of the episode, Kaddish, this means it is the name of a traditional Jewish mourning prayer that is repeated daily for 30 days for a relative or spouse, or 11 months for a parent following the day of burial. Did you know that, Mike?
11 months.
11 months.
I'm pretty sure I'd be over it by then.
Well, I think the point of it is that you will not be over it. You are going to be reminded on a daily basis of how not over it you are.
No, that is a beautiful prayer. Beautiful and deadly in this case.
In this case. But I don't think that the Kaddish is actually responsible for the creature in this episode.
Definitely not. What creature is that, Andrew?
The golem, I believe it's pronounced.
Golem. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And we'll see.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not much of a snab about a lot of things. Did I say snab? Snob. What are the chances I would mispronounce a word trying to explain I'm not a snob about pronunciation?
You're not a snob about pronunciation.
I'm not a snob about a lot of things, but adding inflection and mispronouncing words, it's a bit of a bugaboo for me. So everyone who pronounces the creature golem, as in brought to life stone beast or dirt beast or whatever, as Gollum, you are on my list in my book. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does.
I can hear you. I don't know what to do about that.
And I completely disavow the poll that I put on Facebook. That is a bunch of horse shit. Yeah. It's rigged. And
it's our poll, so we can do it with it whatever we like,
I suppose.
Okay. Well, the inspiration for this is obviously the legend of the golem from the Kabbalah. And Howard Gordon was apparently fascinated by it, and they got a lot of scripts that were related to the golem myth. And he decided he was going to do it. He was going to do it on his own some. So that's where this episode's going to come from. And shall we summon the golem or golem, depending on your point of view?
Golem.
Canonically, it's called the golem, is it?
It is.
All right.
I will fight whoever wants to challenge me on that.
Prove me wrong. That's what you're going to say.
Prove me wrong. Okay, you go ahead, sir.
We open on a windy autumn day in Ben Zion Cemetery, Brooklyn, New York. A mournful cello underscores the Jewish funeral underway as a rabbi reads, and a crowd of mourners mourns, dressed in black, and they participate in the ceremony. The reading comes to an end, and earth is thrown upon the coffin. The camera focuses on a woman, Ariel, who flashes back to the fate of the deceased, Isaac Luria. Snatches of scenes in the aisle of a grocery store as 3 teenagers stand over the body of Isaac, who is injured. 2 of the teens walk off as the third pulls out a gun and cocks it, aiming it at Isaac. Back at the cemetery, Ariel is clearly affected. Her father tells her she doesn't need to be here, but she perseveres. She takes a clod of earth in her hands and holds it. Ariel has another flash of the scene in the grocery store. Isaac begs the teen with the gun, "Why are you doing this?" The teen fires 2 shots. Back to Ariel, who finally releases the soil with the help of her father. Thunder ominously breaks in the distance. Ariel and her father leave the cemetery. Later that night, it's raining, thundering. The camera tracks over the cemetery, hands at work on an earthen mound. As the camera spins around and away, we see that the hands are putting the finishing touches on a human-like figure, forming the head, a clap of thunder, and the figure is walking away. We see the chest of the earthen figure raising and lowering as it begins to breathe. We cut to the credits.
Oh boy.
Yes, shit's a poppin'. Well, Mike, no deaths, except for Isaac's, but, that was in flashback, so it doesn't...
Except for the bullet to the face.
It doesn't really count, though, if it happened, and it's not immediately followed up by
That's true.
a crime
It is not a brand new death. It
yes.
is a death by flashback.
He was too good for the episode,
Too good.
Really make it. How did it strike you? What's your take from the first
I
bit?
like it.
Yeah.
Looking back on the episode, you can see they're trying to explain how we got to the funeral, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think they are trying to paint Ariel in a way. I feel like it could be like a cognitive, like she's seeing the crime even though she wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But, obviously going on, that's not what's going on. But I feel like they're trying to paint her, obviously, as the person who's bringing the golem to life. And I like it. I also want to call out the cool transition from day to night.
Mm-hmm.
Very spot on with that spinning tree.
Yeah.
Not perfect, but pretty cool. And,
it is.
I'm on board.
I would like to call out that these are clearly not teenagers.
True.
The first one, well, I mean, we don't get there's no bio data on Clinton McGuire and Tony Osborne, I think they're their characters' names, but Derek Banks, who will have some actual lines, is played by Shannon Rowe, who was born in 1969, and this makes him 28 at the time of filming. So I'm not exactly sure why they're desperate to call them teenagers, other than the script demanded it, and maybe they couldn't cast them. Is my thinking? Couldn't get the teens you wanted, so you went with older talent?
I think it's pretty common to cast 20-somethings as teenagers in
28,
Hollywood.
Mike. I mean, and the other guys look about as old.
True. I don't know. I guess they just didn't want to waste the time, and maybe all the teens they brought in suck.
I think that may be the case, and so they're like, well, I got this Shannon Rowe guy online, so we can get him and two of his friends.
Speaking of Shannon Rowe.
Oh, yes.
Harrison Coe plays Isaac Luria, and he also played Dave the Butcher in Chinga.
Wow.
And then Justine Maselli plays Ariel, and I'm mentioning her because she also played Nina on the episode of Seinfeld where Jerry screws George's girlfriend.
This is going to be a very long show if you call out other actors, from other shows and not.
I'm sorry. I just
up again
recognized
in
her,
X-Files.
and she is a beautiful woman, and it's hard not to notice her. So
Fair.
I noticed she was in Seinfeld.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the one extension you're allowed. Maybe Millennium, but
Okay, fine.
Well, we return to Mulder and Scully in Mulder's office. Scully is revealing some information about the victim from the open, Isaac Luria, owner of a grocery store and lately of Williamsburg, the latest in a series of hate crimes. It was confirmed as a hate crime, as nothing was stolen but for the VHS surveillance tape. The tape was recovered lately from another crime scene, that of Tony Oliver, one of the teens involved in the crime itself. He was watching the tape when he was strangled to death. The plot twists were two prints that were pulled from Tony's body, those of Isaac Luria. Now, Mulder's interested in the idea of some spectral vengeance, but Scully thinks it's a bit more simple. Somebody has dressed up revenge with a ghostly component. The FBI has been asked to find out how the killer got Isaac's fingerprints. That's a solid setup.
Yeah.
Well,
they obviously haven't seen that Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where he removes his fingerprints to get out of prison. I'm not sure if you've seen that or not.
It sounds familiar, but I don't remember it. So, but it's a good plot device.
He rigs up quite the device and slices off his fingerprints to say he's like in his room when he's not actually there. So I don't remember. It's fucking stupid. But
that's a good, nice plot twist. Not at all.
But obviously, that's what's happening here. That's what's happening here. That is what the criminals are doing.
That's clearly it. Well, later on, the agents knock on a door. This is Ariel's home, where her father Jacob answers and gives them a hard time. But Ariel is okay with having them. She invites them inside, past a bunch of older Jewish men. We see a letter, a consent for exhumation. Jacob is examining it and not liking it at all, not one bit. Ariel needs some clarification. Scully tells them what they want to do is examine Isaac's body to figure out how the retaliation was committed. Jacob is not having any of this. He's telling the agents about the threats to their family and how they were ignored by the police. Jacob shows Mulder a brochure accusing the Jews for the AIDS crisis. After a bit of back and forth, which shows Jacob is very much not on their side, Ariel gives the agents the permission they're after if they'll just leave the house in peace. That's a hell of a scene.
It is a hell of a scene. If you couldn't tell from the beginning, this is going to be a very hate-oriented episode where, skinheads are acting as skinheads will. And,
not even skinheads,
Jewish people.
That's the thing. They're very carbon-cut Nazis. That's what they are.
The skinhead part is out.
Yeah.
They're individuals, Andrew.
Yeah.
They'll have hair if they want to, but they'll still be Nazis.
They're wigs, actually. They're skinheads in their off time.
Yes.
Well, as they leave, Scully imagines that Jacob was resistant to having the remains disturbed because he knows the identity of Tony Oliver's killer. Mulder is definitely on Jacob's side, however much he also agrees with Scully. He thinks their next direction should be to figure out who published the brochure. They drive off past a muddy figure hiding behind a tarp. The figure's hands are covered in mud. The camera moves past and ends on Ariel, who looks out a window onto the street. It occurs to me at this point, Mike, do we see the symbol on the hand at this point, or is it all covered up with mud? I don't recall seeing it. But
covered up at the moment.
Could be.
I wanted to ask you, as someone who's never worked on a television show or production, I don't know. Even though this is a fake document, would you be okay with coming up with a caricature of a Jewish man? Like, hey, highlight some stereotypical features, and we need it for the show. How would you feel about that? I don't know if I could do it.
Well, the horrible thing is there's probably plenty of real world inspiration to draw upon.
I'm sure.
I imagine they didn't have to move too far in order to create the prop. I mean, they needed to make a convincing villain, so it's like actors that are required to play villains, like the actor playing Bajoons there. He's probably getting spat on the street after people see this episode because nobody likes him, but he's like, I'm just an actor, I'm not that character. So the prop designer's probably like, I don't believe in this. I just had to make it for the show.
I'm just making money. You do see a glimpse of the symbol on the hand. by the way.
You're looking at, yeah. Well, I figured they'd start the
Very
trend.
brief.
It's definitely Howard Gordon. He needs to pound you over the head a few times with something just so you remember that it's significant. And that's fine. I mean, the rule of threes is strong with this one, so that's fine. Well, the agents then go to visit the Bajoon's coffee shop, which is across the street from Isaac's market, where they talk to the owner. His name is Herb Bajoons. Bajoonies? Bajoons? I don't know how you say that last name. I know that Scully says it later.
Stupid.
Well,
a bigot.
Yeah, I mean, they don't pull any punches with the writing of this character. He is the jovial white guy racist. Confirms he doesn't know the teen suspects, and then he confirms he's also completely paranoid about Jewish conspiracies. Yeah, I mean, it's a big old scene where he gets to showcase what a racist bigot he is.
We've all met this guy, haven't we?
Yeah, I refreshingly not recently. But there is that knowing look between Scully and Mulder when he spouts some of his opinions, like, oh yeah, who does the FBI work for? And they have to have that look of like,
it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, but the irony is like, not too far off for them. They'd be like, well, it's a conspiracy, all right, but not the one you think. You know?
Not the one you're thinking, sir.
Actually,
we're here for aliens.
Yeah, it's aliens and a cigarette smoking guy, but I don't.
And who the aliens work for?
I don't think he's Jewish. I don't know if that's a thing in this case, but.
Well, this is one of at least two instances where Mulder is pegged as a Jewish person. And
he does get that line, doesn't he? It's like, you got that look about you.
The name Mulder doesn't scream that to me. So I guess I don't know. But apparently, I'm not sure. Apparently, that is maybe part of his backstory. I don't know.
Certainly, it never comes up.
No, it never really comes up. The next episode I'm thinking of is Drive, where Bryan Cranston accuses him of being Jewish as if it's bad. That's just weird.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Well, the scene is being played out on a TV screen. We cut to there, and we see that this is Derek Banks watching over closed-circuit television. As the agents leave, Bajoonies goes back to check in on Derek, but Derek has already fled, having just learned that Isaac Luria might have risen from the dead to exact revenge upon Tony. Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
That's very scary.
Later that night, the two teens are digging up Isaac's grave, Derek wanting to find out if it's true. The camera sneaks up on them, a muddy hand coming to rest on a gravestone. The teens reach the coffin, but it's nailed shut. Clinton goes back to the car to get tools to open it up. The camera sneaks up on him, and the muddy-handed figure attacks him. We cut back to Derek, who has used his shovel to crack open the coffin. And he discovers the decomposing remains of Isaac, calling for Clinton, who doesn't respond. As Derek climbs from the grave, he sees the body of his friend Clinton, who won't be helping with any further grave robbing. And we fade to commercial. Probably for a funeral home or, graveside services.
Has your loved one been dug up recently? Has their corpse been defiled by some hooligans?
Call for AAA Graveside Insurance.
It's for
We keep your loved ones in the ground.
A very nice gold-plated padlock for your casket.
Yeah. Or 24/7 security for the actual grave.
Yes, a laser system.
We surround your grave with anti-personnel mines to ensure that your loved one will remain secure forever.
Hopefully no one gets too close.
Yes. Do not put flowers on this grave. Back from the commercial, whatever it is, the cemetery is a crime scene, Scully examining the body of Clinton McGuire. Mulder is gloving up when Scully comes back with her findings. Clinton was strangled, just like the first victim. The two jump down into the grave and pull back the tarp, revealing the very dead Isaac Luria.
Maybe they came to desecrate the corpse as retribution for Tony Oliver's death.
It seems pretty redundant, doesn't it? Messing up somebody you've already killed. I think they came here because they were afraid.
Afraid?
Afraid that the man they hated enough to kill wasn't really dead. Look. There goes your theory of how Isaac Luria's fingerprints found their way onto the victim's body. What does that look like to you?
Well, the body wasn't embalmed as according to custom. Maybe it's postmortem lividity or some kind of tattooing. It's hard to tell in this stage of decomposition.
What's this? Oh, bedtime reading?
As Mulder holds the book, it bursts into flame, and he drops it back into the grave. The two look at each other ominously. This is where I started to lose a little bit with the spontaneous book burning.
Uh-oh. Okay, so what were you thinking at this point? I mean, they have to have some sort of mysticism, I guess. We saw someone resurrect someone.
I know. Crazy old me looking for an explanation. The explanation, not to spoil the surprise, is magic. It's all just magic. Say some words, put in the proper formula, and you can raise a corpse into the state of a golem. And
you son of a bitch.
It's my Canadian pronunciation. There's no scientific explanation here, and I'm glad they didn't even try and delve into that. But the book just suddenly burning. I'm like, okay, you needed some drama.
Sure.
Clap, clap.
Do they ever explain it?
Nope.
Other than just it's magic.
Scully tries. No, Scully's like, maybe some contaminated water came in and made it flammable, and then it just spontaneously combusted.
Scully explanation ever.
Yeah, even
this makes no sense.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Come on, Scully. Come on.
But yeah, I didn't need it. I don't think it added anything either, other tthan okay, magic. I got you. All right, I understand. Well, we fade to the next day as Herb Bajunis walks along the street and comes to his store, unlocking the door and entering. Derek is inside the store, and he's more than a little pissed off. He wants his money, 2 weeks' worth, and he's tired of Bajunis' inaction, shrugging off what he's doing as ineffectual. He tells Bajunes that Clinton is dead, and Herb Bajunes is shocked. So they're coming for him.
They're trying to paint the store owner as, hey, look, I just wanted to say some terrible things, but I didn't want you to kill anyone. Come on, dude.
I'm waiting for the moment where he's actually an FBI mole. Like, well, not mole, but like a plant. He's like, those Jews, darn them. And then he's got all these skinheads working for him. And then, after he dies, we get a moment where they're like, yeah, it turns out Bajunes was one of us.
Son of a bitch.
We got to revenge him now. But no, we don't get that. He's so caricatured. It's not even funny. Later on, we'll get the full Hitler flag. All right. Well, we cut to the close-up of a burnt symbol. This is from the book in Isaac's grave. And a voice tells us it's called the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation, the earliest known Hebrew text. This voice belongs to Kenneth Unger. The agents seem to be talking to him in a Jewish library. The book is not normally buried with the dead, and it does not spontaneously combust. It's just a book. Scully tries to give some rational explanation for how contaminated groundwater could have made the book combustible, but no one, including us, is really buying that. Kenneth tells them about an unusual stamp on the book showing that this one is owned by Jacob Weiss, which prompts a knowing glance between our agents. And Mike, that
know him.
Is where they're going to go next. The agents speak with Ariel Weiss, who reveal that they need to talk to her father, Jacob, ASAP, as there has been another murder. The second teen, Clinton McGuire. Ariel is distraught as they essentially accuse her father, Jacob, of murder. Ariel drops an emotional bomb. The marriage of Ariel and Isaac should have been today. She goes on to show the agents a wedding ring made in a village near Prague. We get an awful lot of exposition about the ring, how his father hid it from the Nazis, hid it from his wife, and when Ariel said she was getting married, he pulled out the ring for the marriage, and he was so happy. He felt new and lovely again, and it's all such a great scene. She knows her father. He would never kill anyone. But eventually she relents, as our next scene takes us to a synagogue, where we have Jewish men in prayer. Mulder and Scully barge in. Everyone stops. They amble over, and Scully identifies herself. They're looking for Jacob. Mulder spies Jacob walking away. Two part the sea of Jews to get to Jacob, who has disappeared into the back of the synagogue. The agents search for him, going upstairs until Scully finds a body hung from a rope in the rafters. Figure runs by in the distance. Agents draw their guns and close in on the figure when Mulder trips over something and a man runs past Scully, pushing her over. She fires a warning shot, telling him to stop, which he does, God bless him. He turns around slowly. We see it's Jacob Weiss. Scully cuffs him. They put him under arrest. Everyone leaves except for a mystery man who remains upstairs, Hebrew symbols on his hand. We fade to commercial. Mike, surely we know at this point. This is for sure and for true Isaac Luria.
It is really him.
We have seen
Brought
that
back
hand
to life
3 times. We've seen it on the corpse. We know the symbols. Like, they are really hammering home. No, it's actually Isaac Luria.
And I like how Mulder, he senses something before he leaves with Scully and Jacob.
Looks around.
Someone's there in the darkness, but I'm going to leave anyway.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, actually, that you blew past the ring. That is supposedly, grain of salt, ladies and gentlemen, a true Jewish ring from someone who survived the Holocaust that they brought on set.
I did not see that note, actually. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's a hell of a ring. I mean...
That is quite the ring.
It's essentially like a 6-inch tall, castle put onto a ring. And I'm not sure you would wear that as a daily driver. I think you might, ceremonially wear that for the marriage, but then maybe switch to something else.
It's not very practical, but if you really wanted to, you could.
The real question is, how did Jacob Weiss smuggle that out from Nazi Germany?
Should I regale you with the stories from Pulp Fiction?
Everybody thought it. We don't even have to say it. Everybody thought it.
Yep.
Going back, we're in the 21st precinct. Scully arrives with a file as Ariel is there wanting to know where her father is. Mulder's interrogating Jacob, but Ariel wants to see him, needs to see him. Scully relents and Ariel goes to talk to the police detective. Geez, I mean, you get your husband killed, your husband to be killed, and today's your wedding day. You get a free pass on everything, Mike.
I think so. Why not?
Why not, man? Well, we cut to Jacob and Mulder. Jacob explains that he heard a noise upstairs. He went to investigate. Derek attacked him, and Jacob hung him in self-defense.
I love that. You took the time to hang him in self-defense.
That's perhaps my favorite moment. And then I hung him, I quickly fashioned a noose and hung him.
I had just had it in my pocket, ready to go in case.
We got one upstairs. It's a funny story. Yeah. Mulder reveals they found Jacob's book in Isaac's grave. Jacob's confessing, so what does it matter? But of course, Mulder wants the truth. Jacob doesn't give him anything. He just wants to see his daughter. Mulder notes that there's a little mud on Jacob's coat cuff. But he leaves. So clearly, a little bit of implication there that,
he knows something about something.
He does know something about something. Well, Scully and Mulder compare notes. Scully has learned that Jacob Weiss immigrated to Israel after World War II and joined the Irgun, the Jewish military underground. He was arrested in 1959 by the British for a bombing that killed 7 civilians. Mulder doesn't think Jacob was the killer of these teens, however. He thinks that he's covering for someone else. Mulder doesn't think that someone was Ariel, as she wouldn't be big enough to knock Mulder over. At that point, Ariel enters the interrogation room to hug her father, and they watch this through the one-way mirror. Mulder is going to go see a man about a burning book, while Scully sticks around to watch the reunion. And we get a little bit of that scene. Inside the interrogation room, Jacob laments that they found his book in Isaac's grave. Ariel weakly replies, well, that can't be true, to which Jacob clearly is not buying her Innocence Act. So at this point, thinking back to when you first saw this episode, were you like, oh, it's not Jacob, it's Ariel? Or were you thinking maybe there's a third character we haven't met yet? I mean, we're more than halfway through the episode, so.
Well, it plays a little bit different, right? So we've caught someone.
Yes. Which is a trope that Howard loves.
Very much.
Yeah.
In the beginning, thinking back to it, the flashbacks, part of me is like, okay, Ariel has to be the one. She loves Isaac so much. She was about to be married. She had to be the one.
She's connected.
To summon him.
Yeah.
They're definitely setting us up to believe Ariel is the one. They want so desperately to have us think that it's her father. But I think at this point I'm leaning towards Ariel. And I was.
I think the twist we never got was this is Isaac's twin.
There you go.
Convenient, nice explanation. They don't do it, though. It's got to be magic. That's all it is.
Well, I'm pretty sure at the end, so Isaac can escape, the aliens come back and abduct him.
Yeah. They bring him back to his people. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We cut back to Bajun's print shop where he is printing out more anti-Jewish leaflets. How your taxes support Zionist imperialism. There's a sound in the next room. Bajun hears it. We see that he's in the back room. Nazi flag on the wall. When he hears the sound repeat itself. He picks up a gun, starts to load it when a figure is suddenly upon him, grabbing him by the throat and choking him. The camera pulls in to show us the hand, which has the same Hebrew symbols. It's the murderer. And
as if it would be anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, we have established the trope already, This is clearly the thing. I thought there's a I don't like to say that our agents are dumb, but certainly there was an opportunity here just to sit on Bajun's store. Like, he's clearly part of the bad guys. And
there's definitely reasonable, suspicion.
Yeah.
I think, at least to stake it out.
Derek Banks might show up again. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
It's conveniently overlooked.
Howard Gordon being who he is, he wants to play up the supernatural angle. So in this episode, the agents are dead set on that's what's happening rather than
than basic police work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot I like with this episode, but the blind spots to obvious procedure or how another procedural would deal with this, were it not paranormal, I think it's pretty obvious. But that's just me. We cut away from Bajun's righteous death to show a man reading at a table. It's Kenneth Unger. Mulder arrives, accusing Kenneth of holding out on him about the contents of the burnt book, specifically the myth of the mud creature in human form, whose name I will not say for fear of angering Mike.
It's really not that hard.
What is it you want to know?
I want to know about the myth of the golem.
I told you, Mr. Mulder, this is a mystical text. These pages are filled with golems and dybbaks and demons of every size and shape.
It's the golem that I'm interested in.
And I'm interested in why an FBI agent would be so interested in such a thing.
That's what I was hoping you could tell me.
The early Kabbalists, they believed that a righteous man could actually create a living being from the earth itself, fashioned from mud or clay. But this creature could only be brought to life by the power of the word. In practical terms, by the direct application of certain secret letter combinations.
Combinations found in that book?
See, these pages, they're basically instructions for animating the inanimate. And this passage here talks about inscribing a single word on the golem itself.
On the back of his hand?
I'm impressed.
What is the magic word?
Emet. See, these three letters, Aleph, Mem, Tuf, creates the word Emet.
I don't speak Hebrew. I don't know what that means.
Truth. Emet means truth.
Look at you go, episode, weaving a little mythology in there with the T word. Anyway, Kenneth goes on. The golem? The golem?
Correct. No, well, you don't have to emphasize the E, just golem.
The golem?
Golem.
Golem. As opposed to, you don't like Gollum? That's the thing?
Gollum. The creature from Lord of the Rings. It is not. And I hear everyone fucking say it.
Okay.
I'm going to die on this hill.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyone can disagree. I'm sorry.
Audience, just say golem. Golem. Go forward. If you go gollum, then Mike will lunge at you with a table fork. Kenneth goes on. The golem is a monster, unable to think or feel anything but the basest of emotions. He gives Mulder the key to solving the mystery. You have to erase the first letter, Aleph, which turns the word truth into the word death. Well, that's convenient, isn't it?
It should turn it into conspiracy. Mulder's like, I am so in on this right now.
How did I never see this? Wow, Kabbalah. It's at this point we're saved by the Kabbalic mysticism by Mulder's cell phone ringing. It's Scully who reports on the latest death, that of Herb Brunges. Of course, Mulder zeroes in on the hand because Isaac's corpse had the inscription on its hand, not because he's interviewed the monster. I think we need to be clear that Mulder does not pull the hand thing out of his ass. He legit saw that clue in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually okay. I had my moments where I was like,
not bad.
Pulled that out of his ass? No, he had a thing.
He's good.
I will not miss having to say that guy's last name. There's a collection of police cars flashing their lights surrounding the crime scene. Inside, the dude's body is photographed as Mulder crumples up the latest brochure. Scully goes through the man's subscription list. Another agent calls over Scully. There's an image on the surveillance video, and with a shock, Scully reveals that's Isaac Luria, which Mulder flags as uncertain. He's not quite buying into that being the actual Isaac Luria. And we fade to commercial.
So we finally get a video grab of an actual clue.
I was waiting for there to be like static over his face.
Static over the face. just like Leonard Betts.
Exactly. But no, they actually give it to us. It's a pretty great reveal, actually.
Yeah.
Power to you, Howard. We come back to Brunges, Bajuni's, whatever his name's body being zipped up into the body bag. Scully gets off the phone with the county coroner, who confirms that Isaac's body was indeed in the grave. It's definitely a hoax, but Mulder's convinced the man on the tape is not Luria. Mulder begins to put the pieces together. It's a golem, fashioned from mud and then brought to life with a mystical incantation. But subverting the usual paradigm, Mulder suggests it wasn't hate that brought back this golem, but love. The two leave the store. The agents are now at Ariel's apartment, knocking on the door. They open up, the door unlocked, illegally entering the premises. The lights are off, and they look around. But Mulder confirms she's not here. You know why, Mike? The wedding ring. It's gone.
It's gone?
Yeah.
She's going to marry Mud?
She's going to go marry somebody else. Today is her wedding day. All right, you ready for the big finale? It starts now.
I think so.
Okay, here we go. We cut to the synagogue. All the candles are lit. Jacob is looking around warily. He wanders through the synagogue uncertainly, the low cello our musical background. Jacob takes a candle and climbs the stairs to the attic. Mike, are there no lights that they can just turn on in this synagogue? He doesn't have access to the lights.
It would not be an X-Files synagogue.
True.
If it had lights. So we need candles. We need spookiness, even though it's kind of romantic. I'm a little turned on right now.
Spoiler, this isn't a synagogue at all. This is a United Church. But
that's true.
They couldn't get permission to film in any of the synagogues, so they kind of made their own. Well, Jacob looks around for Ariel. With a jump scare, she grabs him. She's wearing her wedding dress. She's there to see Isaac. Jacob gives us our remaining exposition. Ariel is the one who brought back Isaac. She brought him back with a golem ritual. But what she brought back, it isn't him. It's an abomination, no place among the living. And we get, I will say, a nice scene between Ariel and Jacob where she laments about Isaac's death. She didn't think that her words would actually bring back Isaac. We hear a creak in the shadow, and Jacob decides he's going to go look, forbidding Ariel to go with him. Because heaven forbid they should go there together. The agents pull up outside, go into the synagogue, guns drawn. Inside, they see Jacob strung up, strangling to death. Acting quickly, Mulder and Scully cut him down. Mulder leaves Scully with the woman's work of calling the paramedics and staying with Jacob while he goes off gun drawn to find Ariel and confront the monster, naturally. Climbing the stairs, he finds her huddled up on the floor. He goes to her, telling her her father's okay, that they know about Isaac. But she doesn't know where Isaac is. They begin to leave when they hear a familiar creak. Mulder moves to defend her from Isaac, who appears from the shadows. Mulder shoots Isaac several times with the bullets. They don't have any effect on Isaac, who batters Mulder and moves to strangle him. Ariel screams out and shows Isaac the wedding ring. Isaac stops fighting and moves over to Ariel. This is our first view of Monster Isaac, and it's a doozy. Isaac takes the ring, places it on her finger as she recites her wedding vow. She She kisses his hand tattoo and erases the Aleph symbol, telling him she loved him. Isaac begins to disintegrate, his skin flaking away, turning back into mud. Finally, Scully arrives to find Mulder and sees that Isaac is now a pile of dirt. Ariel praying a Kaddish over him. And that, Mike, is where we'll end our episode.
It's quite the ending.
That is quite the ending. Poetic even for Mr. Gordon, I would say.
Yeah.
I contend that
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, and I will contend that the ring putting on the finger, that whole bit is where he wrote backwards from. You know, it's like he knew this was the resolution, and he just needed to put events into play to get us to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little stuck on how the monster gets around and does all of his killing.
Okay. So you're thinking of it more practically?
Yes. Does he take a cab?
Does he hail a cab?
Yes. My classic.
I love how we both went there.
My classic New York reference. You know, does he have access to the bank card that gets him the money, and he can, like, how mindless is he? Because clearly he can get into the church, he can climb the stairs, he can tie knots. You know, he's got some life skills.
I would venture to guess, and because you have posed the question, sir.
Thank you, please.
I will think about it. But my gut reaction is that because he is a golem, he can disintegrate into the earth and regenerate back up somewhere else.
Interesting.
Maybe not instantaneously, but kind of travel that way.
You are surely thinking way outside the episode, because we never see any of that.
We have nothing to corroborate that.
Better than the cab story, even though it's funny. I like the golem getting a cab ride. He gets in the back of the cab, falls down about
3rd and 12th.
Just scrawls it in mud on the little divider.
Brunier's print shop.
Does he like ring the bell when he's the print shop? You know, is that bring? No one's answering. I will just invade. And he like blops in the mud and then goes under the counter.
Yep.
Well, that's good stuff. Mike, lay your final thoughts on me. What do you got?
I like it. Somewhat dramatic, somewhat emotional. Not that I'm moved by it necessarily. Just that it's a nice episode. I think it plays with a golem as a creature that I was waiting for the X-Files to tackle back in the day, and I think this worked pretty well. It was a golem with a purpose. It was a neat kind of explanation as to how the golem exists.
Yep.
And it's kind of framed by a love story, and I think that was pretty cool. I will say my initial reaction is that this, even though it is Howard Gordon, somehow manages to be one of the more competent spotlights on social injustice that the X-Files has done. So, yeah, I'm just going to give it credit. It wasn't overdone. Isaac's power, quote unquote, is very simple and very to the point. Doesn't overdo it. It was a nice little reveal, even though we kind of hinted Ariel was going to be the quote unquote bad guy. I will say part of me expected her to go all revenge witch. Like she's just pissed off and she's killing people on purpose. I'm very glad they didn't do that.
But who's left to kill though at the end? I mean,
well, I just mean like she was relishing in these people's deaths, and she summoned him knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't believe that at all. So I'm glad they did not go that route.
Yeah, it's a nice Romeo and Juliet ending, except she gets to live, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good Monster of the Week episode. It relies on the good old tactic of using magic to move the plot forward. There's no explaining this one away. It's going to be a hell of a case for the agents to close. I mean, the paperwork on this one, I guess they're not going to close the case. This is always going to be a case of they just got strangled and the murderer will never be caught.
Well, I think Mulder, he whipped out a dustpan and a broom, and
here's the evidence. I got the evidence right here.
Like a Tupperware. Here you go, Skinner. This is your killer.
It's your killer.
Do what you will with him.
Trust me, this one is one of our better closers. Yeah. It's got some pretty straightforward things to say about anti-Semitism, which is not surprising, though the original script wanted to make the bad guys black to reflect actual tensions in Williamsburg at the time. But to avoid alienating a growing black audience, the villain was changed to a stereotypical Nazi instead. And frankly, if you can't hate Nazis, if you can't make a show which succeeds at telling a message that Nazis are bad, you're doing it wrong. So good on you, episode.
I wonder how many letters they got. How dare you? How dare you depict us, this loving group of people, as these bigoted assholes?
Yeah. They probably did get like 3 letters. There are some quality performances here. There's a nice twist ending, though the plot device of Jacob Weiss covering up for his daughter by taking the fall for the deaths, that's not logistically necessary. I mean, just try proving that Jacob is the killer feds. There is a case that will not stick either.
Right.
I mean, I guess it makes for good drama and keeps the plot moving, but way to jump on that grenade, Jacob.
Right.
I mean, is your daughter really in danger of being strung up for that crime? I don't think so.
I don't think so. She's good. She is good.
She's good.
No one's going to believe this.
No one's going to care once this paperwork gets settled. It's like, okay, all the bad guys are dead, and no one can figure out how it was done. So, you know what? X-Files, perfect place for it.
Yep. All right. Well, what do you say we go to some listener comments?
I was just going to say that. It's like you read my mind. So I
did read your mind.
We got a couple of them here. Why don't you start us off?
Oh, let me whip out my phone.
You're not ready? I've been ready for minutes.
Sorry, I was recording the show.
I was also recording the show, but I was ready.
I'm not saying you weren't.
I will read the first one because you're not ready. So Sarah Lee says, basically a Jewish The Crow, right? Some beautiful moments. Great guest performances, and in memory of at the end, yeah, I might cry. So that is something I didn't address. Indeed, the final credit is in memory of, or in loving memory, Lillian Katz. This is Howard Gordon's grandmother. So that is definitely a nice twist.
Very much so.
And Jewish The Crow, I think it's worth touching on the Jewish The Crow.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because in The Crow, he definitely has agency. And there is an element
absolutely.
Of choice and, like wondering why he's being brought back and struggling with that. None of that in this. We don't get any perspective from Isaac Luria. So,
well, he's definitely, he knows what he's doing. She didn't ask him to do that. I don't think he.
So it's interesting. Oh, I hadn't even thought of this. Thank you, Sarah, for bringing this up. How does he know how to kill her Brunegis? How does he even think? How does he figure out this guy's involved?
Oh. Stop poking holes.
Maybe in life he'd already figured out that Herb was
I'm sure,
the printer.
Yeah, I'm sure he knew of him.
And he in life was just too nice a guy to do anything about it. I know you're printing that propaganda, but nobody's going to do nothing. But now that I'm dead, I can take the law in my hands. All right. Yeah, totally Jewish The Crow, actually. It does check out.
All right. Liza M. says, a well-intentioned episode that I don't feel 100% hits the mark, but does a much, much better job than Fresh Bones, Hell Money, or Taliko. And it's overall a pretty decent episode. That said, whatever episode immediately followed Memento Mori was doomed to be forgotten from day one. Very true. And I think she hit on some points that I was talking about, where it's just one of the few spotlights on social injustice or serious issues that the show actually managed to do well.
Agreed. Amy Emmert Katanatsi says, I think it's a beautiful and haunting episode, truly one of the most touching in their opinion. Tend to agree. It is very touching. The ending is a nice subversion of the paradigm that, everything has to end in violence. I do like that. Yeah.
It ends in love.
It ends in love and then falling apart into dust.
Aaron Haycraft says, I feel this episode is surprisingly reined in when you guys compare it to most Howard Gordon episodes. It feels focused and it's better off because of that. Also, this unfortunately isn't the last time Mulder is accused of being Jewish in a derogatory manner. See?
It's like
Man, these listeners are on
he's
par.
listening to us as we record it, clearly. Yeah. No, it obviously excellent points. He also replied to Sarah Lee's comment earlier on the Jewish the Crow, saying, I had not watched this episode in a really long time. For some reason, I had skipped it on my last couple of rewatches. Watching it last night, though, yeah, it hit pretty hard. Maybe it's because I'm married now. Maybe it's because of the open hatred we see in pretty much every corner of life now. Definitely an attractive episode, and the golem did nothing wrong until it tries to hang Ariel's dad. That was cool.
Yeah, he missed up. He got a little too excited on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jacob, he's got an attitude on him. Maybe he's not totally committed to this strangling. He knew that Mulder and Scully were coming in. He's like, I'm going to do this just to make a point, but you're going to get saved. But you'll remember this moment for the rest of your life.
And Melissa Banks, our final comment, says, I absolutely love this episode. I'm a sucker for love, revenge, and the undead.
Oh, interesting. I guess Isaac does qualify as undead.
Yeah, in a way. I definitely see it.
Kind of zombie territory, I'd say.
Yeah. In relation to the story, definitely yes. Yeah. Golems themselves, I don't think are typically categorized as undead. But yeah, in this particular story, yes.
Yep, I'd go with that. Well, there you go. That is Kaddish. I think it's been a real fun time. And Mike, let's wrap it up. Let's say goodnight on this one. Would you like to give us the final word?
I would. Ladies and gentlemen, fight hate with love. Don't go hanging everyone or choking everyone you disagree with, and this world will be a better place.
Amen, brother.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.